"Don't bother coming for the reunion," my former best friend wrote in the group chat after spreading lies about me in high school. She thought I'd stay silent. But instead of reacting, I cashed the $12,000 check from my new job, booked a first-class flight, and uploaded a picture of me toasting champagne, tagging the company she just applied to. The comment she left on that photo: "I'm 38 now, living in Chicago, doing well for myself in a career I never expected to thrive in. I don't have kids, I'm single, and while my life isn't picture perfect, it's finally peaceful." But for years, peace felt completely out of reach, all because of one person, Kendra. I grew up in a middle-class suburb outside Cincinnati. Not a bad town, just the kind where people pretend to mind their business but know the make, model, and color of every car that doesn't belong on their street. My dad, Robert, ran an independent auto repair shop that mostly catered to families who couldn't afford dealerships. My mom, Carla, worked at the local library. I was an only child, and I guess you could say I was a bit of a good girl, kept my head down, got good grades, didn't party. And then Kendra transferred into our high school in 10th grade. She was magnetic. That's the only way to describe her. Not particularly kind or even beautiful by traditional standards, but the kind of person who made others orbit around her. Loud, charming, fearless. Within a month, she was friends with all the popular kids and somehow still had time to sit with me during lunch and joke around about teachers. I don't even know how our friendship started, it just did. Kendra had this way of making you feel like you mattered. She would lean in when you spoke like your words were important, laugh at your jokes like they were the best things she'd heard all day. She could be cruel too, but she never turned that on me, at least not at first. The warning signs were there, though. My mom didn't like her. She always said something about Kendra's eyes, that they were smiling without any warmth. I ignored it. I was just happy someone popular wanted to be my friend. We were inseparable for 2 years. Sleepovers, family dinners, parties. I started wearing different clothes, ditching debate clubs, and sneaking out occasionally. Nothing major, but not me. Looking back, I think I just wanted to fit in. To be cool. To be her. Then senior year happened. It started small, she'd cancel plans last minute or forget to text me back. She began hanging out more with a group of girls who used to call me names in the hallway. Still, I held on. I told myself we were just growing up, that friendships changed. I was applying to colleges. My dream school was Northwestern. I had the grades, the extracurriculars, and a strong essay. When I got the acceptance letter with a partial scholarship, I cried. My parents were so proud. We didn't have a lot, but they had saved for me since I was a kid. This was everything. Kendra didn't react the way I expected. She said, "Wow, that's amazing," but her tone was flat. Distant. I remember wondering if she was jealous, but I pushed that thought away. It wasn't her fault if she didn't get in anywhere yet. But about 3 weeks later, everything detonated. I showed up to school and felt something was off. People were whispering. One of the counselors stopped me before the first period and said they needed to speak to me. I was pulled into an office and asked to explain an anonymous tip claiming I had paid someone to take the SAT for me. I laughed. At first, I thought it was a joke. But their faces told me it wasn't. They said there were concerns, and that the school had an obligation to investigate. I was dumbfounded. Then came the kicker: Kendra had come forward. She told them she overheard me bragging about it at a party. There was no party. I hadn't even seen Kendra the weekend she claimed. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. The principal said it was being referred to the district. My guidance counselor looked disappointed. Teachers started treating me differently. Northwestern called and said they were pausing further action pending the results of the investigation. My mom was furious. My dad was heartbroken. I was shattered. I confronted Kendra in the parking lot 2 days later. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, but they asked me." I had to be honest. I knew right then, she had made it up. The betrayal didn't feel real at first. But when the school put a temporary hold on my honor status, when people started snickering as I walked by, when one of my closest friends told me, "I always wondered how you got such a good score," I realized she had pulled the rug out from under me completely. It was Marley who finally saved me. Marley was part of Kendra's new crew, someone I'd never been close to. But she emailed the school screenshots of a group chat where Kendra literally said, "Let's see if this takes Little Miss Perfect down a peg." That was it. The school dropped the investigation. My honors were reinstated. Northwestern cleared me. But something in me broke. I didn't want to go anymore. I didn't want to be in Evanston where people would still whisper about me, still wonder. I told my parents I needed to stay closer to home. I enrolled at Ohio State instead. Safe. Familiar. And I never saw Kendra again. Until now. About 3 weeks ago, I got a notification, a Facebook group invite for our 20-year reunion. I didn't even think anyone remembered me, but there it was. Westbrook High, class of 2005 reunion planning. I hovered over decline. But curiosity won. I joined. Most of the names were familiar. Some of the faces had changed, marriages, weight gain, hair loss. But then I saw her. Kendra. Still center of attention, still posting like she owned the room. She had gotten divorced. 2 kids. Moved back to Cincinnati a few years ago and was restarting her career in tech. I didn't engage. I just watched. Then, during a thread about who was attending the reunion, someone tagged me. "Hey Vanessa, are you coming? Haven't seen you since grad day." I didn't even get the chance to reply before Kendra chimed in, "Don't bother coming for the reunion, Vanessa. We haven't forgotten what you did in high school." Winking face. I stared at the screen for a full minute. My palms were cold. It had been 20 years. 20. And she still couldn't help herself. I didn't respond. Not a word. Instead, I closed my laptop, opened my inbox, and stared at the offer letter I'd received that morning from my company. We'd just wrapped a major campaign for a client, and they were rewarding me with a $12,000 performance bonus. I took a deep breath, logged into Expedia, and booked a first-class flight to Paris. Why Paris? No reason, really. I'd just never been. 2 days later, as I boarded the plane, I took a photo, just me, champagne in hand, the city skyline behind the window. I uploaded it to Instagram and LinkedIn. Caption: "Toasting to clean slates, unexpected blessings, and a life well earned. Here's to doing things on your terms." And I tagged Darling and Mayfield, the global agency where I now worked. The same company Kendra had mentioned, just a week earlier, in a long Facebook post about how she had applied for a job there and was praying for good news. That's when it got interesting. The picture made waves. I didn't expect it to, but maybe some part of me did. Within hours, people from the reunion group began reacting. Some commented, "Congratulations." A few DM'd me privately, surprised, supportive, polite. Most of them hadn't seen or spoken to me in years, and now here I was, champagne in hand, looking, not broken. Not like the girl they once whispered about in the halls. But then I saw her comment. On the Instagram post, public, of course. "Wait, you work with Darling and Mayfield? Since when?" I just looked at it. Didn't like it. Didn't reply. Just let it hang there like a smudge on glass. Then she'd med me. 5 messages in the span of 10 minutes. "Hey, I just saw your post. I didn't know you worked for them. Do you know anyone in HR? I just applied for a digital content role there, maybe you could put in a word? Vanessa? Are you there? I know we didn't end on the best terms, but that was high school. Water under the bridge, right?" It was like watching a live feed of desperation. Let me be clear, I didn't hate Kendra. Not anymore. That part of me had burned out years ago, replaced by something quieter. Not forgiveness exactly, but fatigue. You carry hate too long, it starts to rot your hands. But I hadn't forgotten what she took from me. What it cost me to start over. The late nights walking home from campus because I couldn't afford the bus. The friends I pushed away because I didn't trust anyone. The panic attacks before interviews because some part of me always feared someone would pull the rug again. Kendra had gone on with her life like nothing happened. I had to build mine from the ashes. So no, I didn't respond. Not to the DMs. Not to the comments. Instead, I went to dinner that night in the Marais district, ordered duck confit and a glass of Syrah, and turned off my notifications. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself breathe without the past pressing on my lungs. 2 days later, back in Chicago, something strange happened. I got a call from HR. Nothing urgent, just routine. They were reaching out because someone had listed me as a reference on a recent application. A woman named Kendra Halbrook said she knew me from a previous project. My name was under professional contacts. I froze. Professional contact? We hadn't spoken in 18 years, unless you count passive-aggressive Facebook posts and one-sided DMs. The HR rep asked, very neutrally, "Can you verify the nature of your relationship?" I took a breath and said, "We were classmates in high school. We haven't worked together professionally. I'd suggest a background check, there's some history." She thanked me. And that was it. I didn't embellish. I didn't sabotage. I just told the truth, finally, after all these years. I don't know if that sealed anything. But I do know this: a week later, Kendra posted an Instagram story, just a blank screen with a sad emoji and the caption, "People are fake AF." I didn't need to guess who it was about. That same day, someone from the reunion group posted a photo montage from high school. One of the images was of Kendra and me, back when we were friends. Two girls on the front steps of the school, laughing like we had the world in our pockets. I stared at that picture for a long time. I don't know if she regrets what she did. I don't know if she even remembers it the same way. Maybe she tells herself she was young, that it was a misunderstanding. Maybe in her version, I did cheat, or at least deserved to be taken down a notch. People rewrite their own histories all the time. But I remember. Every second. Every hallway glance. Every day I came home from school not knowing who to trust. I don't need an apology. I don't need closure. I have something better, a life that no longer revolves around the people who tried to destroy me. And yet, despite all that, despite the champagne, the first-class seat, the job title, I don't feel victorious. I just feel done. I haven't left the reunion group. Not yet. I watch the posts roll in, updates, RSVPs, memes about 2005 fashion. Occasionally someone tags me in a memory. I responded politely. Detached. I haven't decided if I'll go. But something tells me, she's counting on me not showing up. And that, more than anything, makes me think I just might. I didn't make the decision right away. After all, what did I really have to prove? The part of me that once ached to be accepted by those people had died a long time ago. But another part, the part they thought they buried, was alive and well. And curious. Not vengeful, just ready. The reunion was scheduled for early October. It was being held at the old golf club near the edge of town, the kind of place where prom was once held under twinkling string lights and the illusion of endless possibilities. I hadn't set foot there since I was 17, in a dress I'd borrowed from my cousin, dancing with a boy whose name I barely remembered now. I stared at the RSVP button in the group. People were posting about their plus ones, their kids, their weight loss journeys, their divorces, their new real estate ventures. And then there was Kendra, acting as if she was the honorary host. She commented on every post with some variation of, "Can't wait to see you," or "It's going to be epic." It was surreal watching her play the part of someone who'd never broken anyone's trust. Marley was the first to message me privately. "Hey. I saw the thread. Just wanted to say. I remember everything. I never forgot what she did to you. I should have done more back then. If you decide to come, I'd love to catch up, on neutral ground, of course. No pressure." It meant more than I expected. I typed out a response and deleted it. Then typed it again, "Thank you. You did enough. You told the truth when it mattered. I'm thinking about it." A few days later, someone else reached out, Darren, of all people. One of the popular boys back then. Quarterback. He'd once made a joke about me being a teacher's pet with a stick up her ass. Now, apparently, he was a single dad working in HVAC and raising 2 daughters. His message surprised me. "I owe you an apology. I wasn't kind in high school. I believed things I shouldn't have. If you do come to the reunion, I'd like to apologize in person. But if not, just know I regret being a dumbass back then." Something shifted in me then. This wasn't just about her anymore. It wasn't about Kendra or revenge. It was about reclaiming the narrative. My own history. They remembered me as a rumor. A scandal. A footnote. But I had lived the full story. I'd clawed my way back, piece by piece. Maybe it was time they saw the version of me that existed after they stopped looking. I clicked RSVP, going. I didn't post about it. I didn't announce it. I let it simmer. A week before the reunion, I got another message from Kendra. She was relentless in her casual attempts to dig for information. Hey girl. Can't believe how fast time flies. Are you really working with DNM? I saw the post but wasn't sure if it was like a collab or something. I applied for the content strategist role there. Fingers crossed fingers she had shifted from flippant to flattering. I didn't answer. She messaged again 2 days later, just wondering if you'll be at the reunion. I know we haven't talked in a while. I think it would be good to reconnect. No drama, just like old times, sparkling heart like old times. As if old times were worth revisiting. The funny thing was, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even anxious. I just felt clear. The day before the reunion, I flew into Cincinnati and rented a car. Drove past the old high school, the empty lot where the movie theater used to be, the ice cream stand where I worked weekends after classes. My parents had moved to Florida years ago, so there was no home to go back to. But I passed our old street anyway, parked outside the modest house I grew up in, and sat there for a moment. Someone else lived there now, a couple with a golden retriever and wind chimes on the porch. It didn't make me sad. It just reminded me how far I'd come. That night, I stayed in a boutique hotel downtown. Nothing flashy. Just quiet. Clean. The kind of place that smelled like eucalyptus and soap. I laid out my outfit on the bed, simple navy dress, block heels, a blazer that fit perfectly at the shoulders. Minimal makeup. Hair tied back. Understated, elegant. I didn't want to look like I was trying to prove anything, because I wasn't. When I walked into the golf club the next evening, the past hit me like humidity. The same damn chandelier. The same tile floor. Even the smell of cheap chafing dish meatballs and too sweet punches. Heads turned when I walked in. Not dramatically, not like a movie, but gradually. People notice. Registering. A few smiled. A few whispered. Kendra, standing near the check-in table with a glass of wine and her usual entourage, caught sight of me and froze for a half-second before stretching her face into something vaguely resembling a smile. I nodded at her, cordial, nothing more. She didn't approach me right away. Instead, she hovered near the bar, laughing too loud, gesturing with a manicured hand as she talked about her kids. I made small talk with Marley first. Then with a few others. Faces that once scowled now softened. Marley hugged me. I'm glad you came, she said, sincerely. Later, Darren came up and offered that apology in person. He was nervous. I thanked him, and we chatted for a bit about his daughters and my cat and how weird it was being back there. It felt real. Grounded. Kendra finally made her move halfway through the night. She found me near the hors d'oeuvres and said, in her sugary voice, Vanessa. I wasn't sure if you'd come after that little group chat misunderstanding. You know how things get blown out of proportion, there it was. I turned, slowly, and looked at her. She looked older. Not badly, just human. Not the untouchable queen she used to be. I didn't misunderstand anything, I said calmly. You told a lie. A pretty big one. But that was a long time ago. She blinked. I could see the flicker in her eyes, confusion, maybe? Or calculation. She tilted her head. I was just a kid, Ness, she said. We both were. You're successful now. You obviously bounced back. I smiled then, just a little. Yeah. I did. But you never apologized. Not once. She opened her mouth to say something, then stopped. Her lips tightened. A crack in the facade. I didn't wait for her to recover. I turned and walked back toward the terrace, where people were laughing about old cafeteria food and homecoming disasters. I could feel her eyes on my back. But I didn't care. Out on the terrace, the air was crisp, the sky inky and clear. The sound of cicadas blended with the murmured conversations of former classmates reliving their glory days. I stood at the edge, looking out over the golf course where we'd once taken senior pictures and skipped rocks during spring formal. I remembered sitting there once with Kendra, her talking about how we'd both end up in New York, living in a loft with exposed brick, writing for magazines and drinking wine out of real glasses. I had believed her. I had believed everything. But here I was, not in New York, not drinking wine with her, and not broken. Someone tapped my arm gently. It was a woman named Camille, another classmate, someone who had been quiet and artistic back then. She was holding a glass of red wine and gave me a small, almost shy smile. I just wanted to say, she began, I always knew something was off back then. About what they said you did. It didn't make sense. But I stayed quiet. And I've always regretted it. That hit deeper than I expected. I thanked her, and we talked for a few minutes. And it struck me then, how many people had quietly doubted the version of the story they were fed, but didn't have the courage to say so. It made me realize that maybe this story had never just been about me and Kendra. Maybe it was about what people are willing to believe when it's easier to stay silent. I stayed for another hour or so, floating between groups, sipping on a decent glass of white wine, accepting apology after apology from people who were no longer high school kids but tired parents, divorcees, professionals who had seen enough life to look back and say, we were wrong. But the true ending came not with a confrontation, but a choice. Kendra finally cornered me near the dessert table. I heard from DNM, she said, trying to sound casual. They didn't go with me for the role. Apparently the position was filled internally. I met her eyes. She was fishing. I could see it written all over her face. She wanted me to confirm whether or not I had anything to do with it. And I had. After HR had asked about her, I followed up. Politely. Professionally. I'd asked if I could speak to someone directly, and I did, a woman named Janelle, who I'd worked closely with on a product launch. I didn't lie. I didn't need to. I won't go into detail, I told her. But she played a direct role in something harmful and untrue about me during a very formative time. I wouldn't be comfortable recommending her for any collaborative team-based role. That was enough. I didn't need to slander. I just told the truth. For once, my version mattered more. Now, standing next to the cookies and cupcakes, Kendra was fishing for an answer. A thread of hope that she could pull to unravel the silence I'd built between us. I gave her a small smile. Maybe it's for the best. You've always wanted to be your own boss, right? Her face faltered. Just a little. Then she gave a half laugh and rolled her eyes. Yeah, I guess. Anyway, you look good, Vanessa. I mean that. I nodded once. Thanks. And then I walked away. I didn't need to humiliate her. I didn't need to make a scene. I had walked into the lion's den and came out with grace and power. Not the kind of power that shouts. The kind that doesn't need to. I said goodbye to the people who mattered. Marley hugged me again. Darren asked if he could follow me on LinkedIn. Camille said she was going to email me a photo she found of the two of us from a drama club trip I barely remembered. And as I walked out of the venue and into the warm October night, I felt lighter. Not because I had gotten revenge. But because I had gotten something better, my story back. Kendra would wake up the next morning knowing that the girl she tried to break had built something bigger than she ever imagined. And she'd never be able to spin the narrative again, not without others speaking up, not without silence complicit in her lies. As I reached my rental car, I pulled out my phone, opened Instagram, and took one last photo for the night, just my heels kicked off at the edge of the trunk, the golf club glowing in the distance, captioned simply, "There's nothing more satisfying than arriving in your own time." I didn't tag anyone. But I didn't need to.